On International Women's Day, we featured 2 panels of women resident in both islands of the Federation. These women spoke about their experiences in their personal and professional lives. Today, while we are still in the International Month of Women, we decided to give some balance to the dialogue pertaining to women and hear from the men. Note that although each of our participants may be associated with particular organizations, the views expressed are their own unless otherwise stated. Today, we warmly welcome Enoete Inanga and Dion Browne to this discussion. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so there'll be a bit of a breather before we actually get into the heat of the discussion. We have a clip of one of the issues raised by our International Women's Day panelists, so we're going to take a look.
And I take it even further. When I'm there at the table and we're having a discussion, don't look at me. I'm not writing any notes. I'm not the secretary here. I'm not following up on anything. We are going to do this together. And this is just proving your worth when you're there. Mm-hmm. You're not there just because you're a woman. You have value.
I'll tell you about some experiences I've had. Mm-hmm. Because I broke this glass ceiling very young. Mm-hmm. So I was the only woman with a bunch of executive men, and we did a lot of traveling together.
Yes.
And you see, the other thing is, my name is Dawn with an E.
Yes.
And it's often thought that I'm Dwayne.
Oh.
So they get the hotel booking, and as far as they're concerned, it's Dwayne Williams. Yes. So I turn up at the hotel with a group of men, and they'll say, "Oh, Mr. Black, is Mrs. Black joining you?" Because I'm Mrs. Black. So I'm either the wife or the secretary. Never an equal with my colleagues, my executive colleagues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, here you
That's
go.
a jaw dropper, man.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, why don't you go first?
I think it's unfortunate that women still face certain biases and stereotypes in this world. You know, with that said, I think so just how we were socialized, and so it's ingrained in us to automatically think these things because of how we grow up and our social construct. You know. If we go back to our childhood days, you see that certain roles, gender roles, were placed on us as men, and certain gender roles were placed on women, and so on. So women normally stay home to take care of the family. So that's culturally how it was. Women stay home, and the men would go work and bring home the bacon, we'll say. And then those transferred to the children. You know, women would normally tell their girl child that they have to stay inside, learn how to cook, wash, and clean. You know, so when they grow up, that they should be able to take care of their husband, because that was seen, as a woman's role, to take care of the husband, to take care of the home, to take care of the children, and so. But it's unfortunate that even though we are now in the 21st century, that it is still something that is happening. I think that it would take persons like me and my good friend here to break the bias, help break the bias between those examples that you we would have just witnessed there. With that said, also that also men also themselves face some biases that we should also try to break. So it's not not invalidating what the women face, but it's also bringing to light that we as men face some biases because, like I said, our gender roles and how we were socially constructed.
I think that social constructs sometimes come from circumstance and the necessity and the time of the era. Mm-hmm. So way back when, it probably was a little bit, try not to say the wrong thing here, but the men were going out to wars and doing all those hard labor things, and it just made sense back then. Now with the proliferation of technology, you can work from home, you can do all these other things. We have to now see that the times have changed, and those lines have been blurred. And what we need is to continue to see more women showing us that they can also do. And when we continue to see these examples, Dawn, I don't know if you guys saw what she said last week, but she spoke about how women are in the top positions when it comes to the financial industry in the bank. She's in charge of Bank of Nevis and St. Kitts, am I correct? I think so. And then she says the person in charge of the financial Ministry of Finance, that's a woman. And she listed out a whole bunch of different people who are in these top positions. And so I didn't know this before, right? So she is showing us that they can also do. So we need to see more women doing these things that are typically gravitated towards men. It starts from when you're this young.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because when you said that, and I agree with everything that you've said, I think the point of divergence for me is what would motivate a woman to do something that might traditionally have been reserved or perceived as something that a man would do. And when I say that, I'm expressing here that there is nothing wrong with that if that's a genuine desire to do it. But if it comes from a place where you're doing it because the men have dominated it, so I want to get in there, the question then becomes, is that motive pure? And is that the right reason to do it if the intent is to go in there and create a sense of balance in a method that would tend to overcorrect the sins or the wrongs of the past?
Sometimes it takes that. It takes somebody taking that risk to show that, look, at least I tried. And so other people who can see that can say, well, if she could try, then I can try. And it has that trickle down effect. So that's where I would take on it.
Well, my take on it just need a little more sensitization. Like you said, you start from young in our schools, and we also need to sensitize our adults as well, because that's what we see that is happening. Even though we sensitize our children, the parents still have their own bias, and those sometimes parents force their ideologies on their children. So like I said, is how we were socially construct, how we were brought up to, we think we don't see how much our parents influence us,
until we get a little older. This question goes to both of you. Have you ever witnessed a woman being treated as, for lack of a better term, less than a man?
Of course. In my experience in track and field, you see that in the villages, in the team constructs. There's just a different way that people, especially in those hyper masculine environments, it's just different. And it's something that I would speak up against, but
yes, of course. Like you said, sometimes I feel like women have been treated like they are fragile things. Men, we can do whatever we want, and so on. We get cut, bruised, whatever, but we should not cry or anything. Women, they be treated like they are fragile, like they're going to break if something happens. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I think I've seen it as well, and it's weird, because I think when I witness that certain men do it, it's so culturally ingrained that they think that it is their right to do it. So there's that sense sometimes of condescension, or the tone when you speak. What Joyelle said when she was speaking, Senator Joyelle Clark, about not being the secretary, that general, you're in a meeting and because you're
taking notes.
You're taking notes, exactly.
Who's taking notes? And they look directly.
But seriously, we all do it. sometimes, whether we notice it or not, because it's so ingrained in us, it's so built into us. We all do it. Sometimes, we into a meeting, and who's going to take notes?
I mean, everybody just looks.
We look to maybe the only woman in the room, so we look to her. We all do it.
Is that maybe women are better note takers? I don't know.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they have that meticulous attention to detail, and they're better listeners and better handwriting. Maybe that's it, but I could tell that it would rub them off in a very awkward way to be like, no, I'm better, bigger than a note taker.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, we are now joined by Vikell Edwards-Douglas, and we're having a discussion in an effort to address some of the issues raised by our women panelists during the International Women's Day special here on Good Morning SKN. So we have another video clip that we're going to take a look at, and then we're going to have some discussion on it.
It's showing up as the veterinarian and them watching you in the face and asking, so where's the vet?
Exactly.
You could handle an animal there. You know what you're doing. I get this asked a lot. You sure you know what you're doing? You can't handle that. In meetings, it's very frustrating because you're talked over, you're ignored. I'm a very passionate person, so when I speak passionately, I am told that I am emotional. I am violent. I have an attitude.
Angry black woman.
Yeah. And the most common one is, you don't look like a vet. Like,
what does a vet look like?
What is a vet supposed to look
exactly.
like?
They really mean to say you don't look like a man.
yeah, exactly. And the funniest one for me is when I'm driving the manual, the stick shift vehicles. When persons see I'm driving it, they look at me funny and ask me if I'm sure I'm the one driving.
Wow.
Wow, and we have to talk about that. Sure, at all. Okay, so let's start with the emotional differences, or what are perceived as emotional differences in the way that women and men tend to express emotions. Are we really different that way? Vikell, I'll let you come in here.
Alright, so greetings guys, and this is something I'm sure we would have been hearing for so many years, and the emotions of women is something that would have been discussed, I'm sure, since before the inception of myself and most of us. But most women are likely to be more happy, more warm, of course, exert a level of confidence, and in some cases they can be emotional, but that's because of how society is. And it's due to how we call cultural and traditional purposes, how women should be and how women shouldn't be. But really and truly, when you look at it, the emotions of women play a very important part in our societies today, because we need that level of balance. And without balance, we're going to have chaos. So because of women, when we have the table, when it's too high, women are able to balance that table, to have that chemistry. So of course, we have that level of fierceness that is needed, that level of confidence, and also that level of compassion that's so very important, a part of the cog, to ensure that the wheels turn and the wheel is turning properly.
I think that sometimes if we take that perspective, there will be those women who will push back and say, why do we have to be there to provide that balance? Like, we can be just as, braggadocious as men and not be seen as anything else but still being a woman. And the same thing goes to men. Men can provide that type of balance with empathy without being construed as being soft and weak and all that. But again, we need to see more people showing these traits, like breaking that bias. To the true balance will be achieved when it's not perceived as being a man thing or a woman thing. It's just a human thing.
Human thing, yeah.
Agreed.
I agree. I think society has these expectations on the different genders. We expect men to be strong, tough, not showing any emotion at all. We're supposed to have a stiff face. And so
I've developed one. I've had to try to develop one because after years of being called soft and weak, I'm like, okay.
You're not even supposed to smile too much.
No, no.
It is quite weird.
Yeah. What's up, man? How you doing?
And I think it's very important for us to feed off of each other because even though, let's for example, some men can be passionate, but it's not as genuine as it's with a woman, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
There are certain things women can do better and men can do better.
Yeah.
And there are certain things we just reflect off of each other from, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that because we were having a discussion before I alluded to it that when we come back, we'll be talking about what women and men bring to the profession, more specifically, what women bring to the professional table. In terms of those differences, what do you think? Let's start with you, Dion.
To be honest, I think there is no differences between what a woman can do. It depends on the role itself. I think women can do almost anything that a man can do. Almost anything a man can do. There are some things that a man can't do what a woman can do, and a woman can't do what a man can do, you know. But when it comes to certain profession, maybe it's financial. Even today, once ago, most of the teachers were men. Now, most are women. In financial services, most of the were men, executive were men, but most now are women. When we think about the permanent secretaries that we have, most were men back then, now most are women, so I think that women are definitely breaking the glass ceiling and breaking those biases, and they have been really showing that they can lead and they can be professional. So like I said, for me, I think that women can do almost everything that a man can do, almost.
And that's true, and I do agree, and I don't think a job is for a man or for a woman. That's just me. I don't think jobs should have labels. Jobs shouldn't be gender specific. And what I would say is that there are some elements that women would have in terms of commitment, competence, and chemistry when it comes to working. But to the profession, women are well organized. They are organized to a T. They ensure certain things are done a specific way because you must have some order to the madness. And then when you look at it now, women are natural meditators. They're able to resolve problems at a better pace, I should say, in terms of a man would more so resolve a problem quicker to deal with something right away, whereas a woman will deal with it now to ensure that it doesn't happen in the future again. And then you can look at how women are passionate about what they do. They put their all because they understand the importance of pouring yourself into your profession, into your skills, into your job, into your talents. And these are certain traits we need, because if people are more cognizant of the fact that people look at them, and of course I can be inspired and empowered based on what you portray. And if you portray an exuding, confident face, of course, compassionate aura, I'll be able to feed off of that energy, of course. I may be able to even emulate that very same energy.
Yeah, I just want to feedback off something that you said. I think women, when they get into leadership role, there's more pressure on them than they may, to succeed. Yeah, to succeed at that role. And I think it's not fair to them.
It's not at all.
I want to ask you something on that point, though. Is that pressure self-imposed in a lot of instances?
Yes, it could be self-imposed, but we as men also impose those differences, and women as well impose those differences. Differences on the women, normally it's women that impose those kind of pressures on the women, because they say, see, who should she should be? And it's normally women who do that. So they're
I think it's them living up to expectations, because when you have certain quote-unquote male-dominated areas, and you're now a woman, and you're filling that seat, you're now the head of a board, or you're now the head of an industry, you have to ensure that you perform as good or even better than the men did. So women can continue getting this position over and over and over.
Here's the thing, and that strikes a chord with me on a personal level, because it's like, that right there identifies that the men are the standard. Because if you have to be in your position the way that a man would be, you have to act as a man. Is that not you saying to yourself as a woman, the men are the standard?
But then
it's all something psychological as well. Because again, it's all about society, what we created, and really and truly, it's a facade. And once we break away from this quote-unquote practice, with this kind of thinking, we'll see how much more we can accomplish. Because as I said before, no job is gender specific. No toy should be gender specific as well. Because once upon a time, we know women were the one leading in pageantry, performing arts, makeup, and these different things. But now we have men journeying into these things as well. Women once upon a time were one of the best cooks, but now when you look at it, they would say a man is the better cook.
Well, most of the men are
it's a shift. Women are coming over into men, and men are going over into women's sectors. And that's just how it is, because of evolution, because of modernization, because of innovation, of course. Things are going to happen, it's going to have a shift, and things are shifting for the better, because everybody wants to be able to be that best diversified self. So I'm going to try something new. I'm going to break barriers. I'm going to push challenges. I'm going to make people feel uncomfortable, because that's what I'm here to do.
So in our final moments here, this question goes to you all of you, and I do hope we have enough time to have you answer it. What can we do as men to facilitate the breaking of the bias? Enoete.
When you see the change happening, don't fight it. Embrace it. When you see that shift happening, do not question it. Embrace it. When you see somebody trying, validate it. Don't question, just support. Because that's how the bias and that's how the ceiling is going to get broken. That's the level of support that they need. That's my answer.
Dion?
Well, I would just add to what Enoete said, you know. I think we ought to start with us, you know. Look inside of ourselves and to search to see if we have any biases that we would have inherit, you know, within us, and I'll try to change that within us, you know. So whenever the change does happen and the shift does happen, you know, we automatically we think that it's a good thing, that it's a good thing for a woman to be the boss, to be the boss lady, you know. It's a good thing for a woman to be the, you know, in the boardroom, you know, leading and taking charge. It's a good thing for a woman to be in construction and so on. And so we need to start within us first to break those inherent bias that because like I said, we were socially constructed to think that there are gender roles. You know, women should be certain things and men should be certain things. So I think that's where it starts.
Vikell?
And with me, I just think we should be open-minded, and of course, don't be afraid to take certain risks. And seeing now we are in charge of a generation, and I'm saying we as young people, as adults, people are looking at us. So the easier we step out to break barriers, the better it is, because the young people will then want to take up certain roles. So once we are open-minded, even if we try something and we don't like it, that doesn't mean we should talk it down to bad talk it, so other people can hear us, so they can say, well, he said this is that, so I'm not going to do it. At least be open-minded and encourage people to do it so they can experience it for themselves, and then allow them to share that with other people. Well, not for us to basically fight down something because we don't like it. Let's remain open-minded. Let's take the experience for experience sake. Let's share the good always. And of course, if there's something happening we don't like it, let's see how we can better build upon it. Of course, resolution, that's how it is. Don't be negative, be positive, because at the end of the day, other people might want to experience it. And depending on what you say, they might not want to, because based on what your reflections.
All right, well, thank you for that, and I'll take the final word here. The question that I will answer is this. I'll answer it this way. Think of your daughters. Think of your mothers. Think of the women in your family.